Welcome back to R&R on Sports.
Back.
And that was really
No,
sad,
wasn't that, man?
man.
That was
That
with
was
style.
real
It was
weak.
with
That was
finesse.
real weak,
I mean,
man.
it
The
was
last
me just being able to slide it
last
on
few
in
weeks you've been
real,
pretty pitiful.
real like back.
But
It's like that type of thing.
okay,
Don't
okay,
hate,
okay.
man. I'm telling you, man. See
We
that?
are thrilled to have with us somebody who is a former NASCAR pit crew member, a national recruiter for NASCAR's Drive for Diversity Pit Crew Development Program, and the broadcast host for Motor Racing Network's show Crew Call. I'm talking about Dion Rocko Williams, but wait a minute, Larry, I'm not through.
What
This
else
is a
about the brother?
brother.
Tell it. Put some respect. Put some
This
more
is a
respect on his
brother.
name. Put some more
Brother
respect on it.
Dion, Brother Rocko, welcome to R&R on Sports.
Yeah.
What's up, brother? What's up?
What's up? Thanks for having me, guys. Hey, let me just correct you. I'm not a former pit crew. I'm still doing it.
Oh, excuse me,
still
you
in the
still
pit
doing this?
I had to, man. It's COVID. I had to.
Really?
That's the only way to get at the track. With
Wow.
the numbers limited, and all of our recruits out there at the track, we can't go in the supervisor role. So the only way to get inside the track, I had to show them I can still go over the wall. So
Okay.
I'm going over the wall now until COVID is released, and then I'll stop having fun.
Okay,
But I got to
now-
show the little young ones I can still do it.
Now you got to explain.
Wow.
You got to explain terminology. Everybody doesn't understand what going over the wall is.
Okay.
So tell them what that means, because they think that means rolling a car over the wall.
Well, first of all, I am a NASCAR pit crew tire carrier / jackman. I can do two positions very well, but I was recruited.
Wait a minute, tire carriers. You carrying them big old tires?
Both tires. You have 4 tires on the car. I'm responsible for carrying 2 of them over
At
the
a
wall while
time?
the car is moving. At a time, in both of these hands, I can do it. And we can do it. And then you have to get that car and those tires changed in a certain amount of time. So we practice, we train. We're considering ourselves professional athletes. We're ex ball players from other sports. So when you come in NASCAR as a tire carrier, jackman, you have to meet a certain physical demand and requirements to be good at what you do. So obviously, as a linebacker playing football, I fit the build to be a jackman and a tire carrier, and I took that ball and ran with it.
Oh man, but you know what they say about linebackers, man? They say linebackers are crazy as hell. Would you put yourself in that category?
Well, I'm the first black in NASCAR to do a lot of jumping out in front of the car. I think that's pretty crazy. You might as well call me Human Frogger.
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah,
But
that's
amazing.
Before we get too far gone, your background is so very interesting. So please give us the executive summary of how you got to where you are now.
By mistake. It was the best mistake that ever happened to me in my life. Avoiding real work. I was at Wake Forest University. I was an inside linebacker with dreams for the NFL, and as like most stick and ballers, in the NFL, we're saturated. That's what we do. We go to college. Half of us are focused on the NFL before we even get there. That's what, the line is wrapped around the building for the NFL. Right. So long story short, that didn't work out for me to the point where, I had a few head injuries and I was a head buster. I really like to get in there and knock some heads around. And that's all I knew. Long story short, I was a computer science major at Wake Forest. I always went the road less traveled by, and then I didn't like the status quo in the first place. So once I was released from football, luckily I came across the man, Coach Phil Horton at Chip Ganassi at the time. He is the first African-American, the first black man to coach a race team, on a high level in the top series. So him at the time.
The race teams have coaches?
Absolutely. They did it at first. But when you start recruiting athletes to make pit stops faster, eventually you will need to coach these athletes. And before, it was the mechanics that did the pit stops prior. But when you bring athletes in, you're going to have to be able to relate to these athletes. You're going to have to be able to train them. You're going to have to nurture them and facilitate that process through their career. You have to have that. So that was new. And that's what Coach came in and provided to the sport. And not only that, he started to bring in individuals like myself. I was his first class as an experiment for the 40 car for Chip Ganassi Racing, driven by Sterling Marlin. It was his final year. So in his final year, this is how NASCAR worked. When you're an older driver and you're not really winning a lot, they try to put you out in a way. They said, give them the experimental pit crew. Us. Wow. The rookies, you know, the black guys, you know, who don't really know anything. You know, it's a group of us, you know, coaches' boys, you know. That's how it got started. We were fast-tracked in the sport as an experiment to show, like you can't use athletes, you know, they're not going to be good. These mechanics are off the chain. This is what they do. But then here we are, used to the pressure. We're used to performing in front of 100,000 people. We're used to not making mistakes when it counts. We're training. We're not smoking cigarettes. You know, we're taking care of our bodies. You know, to the point where when we're traveling, we're able to perform at a higher level on a consistent basis. So nowadays, where it was an experiment when I started back in 2005, it's more mainstream now, where every athlete up and down pit road, every pit crew member, majority of them, I would say about 80%, are athletes from other sports now, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. But that's what we do. That's a part of my responsibility at NASCAR Drive for Diversity, which was bestowed upon me by Mr. Steve Phelps, the president of NASCAR, who, when I met him back in 2010, was our president. I didn't know who our president was of NASCAR because at the time he was undercover on a show called Undercover Boss. And I was the one that they selected to go behind the scenes with the president and also divulge all types of information from my experiences. You know, what it was like seeing Confederate flags, what it was like being the super minority, and how I explained it to him back in the day. I felt like a chocolate chip in a big bowl of vanilla ice cream. We were such the minority. We were so few and far between to the point where you really felt like you had all eyes on you all the time, if that makes sense.
Wow.
You know, and I'm sorry, you know, when I get to talking, you just tell me to shut up.
No, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I wanted people to get a good look at you and that you are fit. You are fit. So listen, this is R&R on Sports, and listen, it is truly about you. Let me ask you this. What is the difference in adrenaline? Being out there on the football field in front of 100,000 people, or being at a NASCAR event in the pit?
Thank you for asking me that.
100,000 people.
When you play in football, man, you have 4 downs. All right. You miss a tackle, you miss a play, you miss a gap. Guess what? You got another down to make that up. You miss a play on a NASCAR pit crew. My responsibility was to get that tire on in 1 second or less. That 55-pound tire in 1 second or less. If you did it in 1.2, 1.4 seconds, that's 0.4 of a second, which is equivalent to 400 feet on a racetrack going over 200 miles an hour, that you lose for that driver. So when that driver comes in 4th place and he leaves in 8th place, or he comes in first place and leave in 3rd place, not only did you cost him valuable track position that he might not be able to gain back because his car is not good enough, you cost that team thousands and thousands of dollars that they lost just from losing those spots at the end of the race. So that's pressure.
How is it humanly possible to put a tire on in a second?
It's just repetition, muscle memory, and training with strength, and just having the hand-eye coordination and just common sense to get the job done. Not only that, it's anybody.
Wait. Common sense. Now, you know the saying is, you know, common sense ain't common. And I can tell you this: if it comes to me changing a tire in 20 minutes, it ain't gonna happen. So you gonna tell me there's people out there that can change the tire in 1 second?
Yes. No, he said put the tire on in a second.
We can put the tire on in a second, and then I'll put the tire on. Then you have a tire changer. There's 5 of us that go over the wall. You have 2 tire changers, 1 tire carrier, a jack man, and a fueler. And over the years, they've always tweaked with the personnel and the choreography of how we do these pit stops. They went from 7 guys to 6 guys, and now we're at 5 over the wall. I'm not saying guys, but guys and women, because we have females who go over the wall as well. You know, but so they're constantly keeping, and the reason why they're taking people away because they wanted to make it safe. Realistically, we're playing in traffic. There's a lot of bodies around these cars moving around at a very fast pace. So the less people that go over the wall, the safer it is. At the same time, the more strenuous it is on those remaining 5 athletes. So therefore, Go ahead.
From the time the car pulls in to the time the car pulls out, what's the average amount of time that you guys got your hands on it?
In the Premier, on the lower series, in the Gender Outworld Truck Series, 15 to 16 seconds will maintain or will keep your job. In the Xfinity Series, which is the next tier up on the National Series, 14 to 15 seconds, 15 to 14 seconds will keep you in a safe area. Now, in the Premier Series, the top series of the Cup Series of NASCAR, anything 13 seconds to 12 seconds is what you need to be competitive if you're running top 10 in the race.
12 seconds.
12 seconds to 13 seconds with 5 individuals changing 4 tires to be competitive. Now, you have cars running 20th on back where pit stops don't matter because they're not fast enough to even matter. But when it comes time to pit in a car for Jeff Gordon, a Brad Keselowski, a Kyle Busch, you need to be 12 or 13 seconds. You train and you practice 3 days a week, and you're compensated like that. At the same time, your job is gone if you make too many of the repetitious, repeated mistakes, because the eye in the sky does not lie. Everything is on us. Everything is timed. We have cameras everywhere when we do our job. Accountability is held very, very, very stern in what we do.
Wow. Do you actually watch film and plan and talk about positioning and all that as if you were on a football field?
It's crazy the parallels between football and stick and ball sports with NASCAR. You know, after every single race on Mondays and our debrief and breakdown, we come back to the race shop. We have meetings in a film room with all of our breakdowns from our camera crews and our coaches on every single stop indexed on. This is what you did on this stop. This is what you did on this stop. This is where you need to improve. And so it's such and such. So, you know, everything is accounted for and you have to answer for that. You have 2 backups salivating, waiting for you to mess up repeatedly so they can take your job.
Wow.
It is very high pressure. Job security sucks to the point where that was some of the stuff that I talked about with, at the time, Steve Phelps, the president of NASCAR and Undercover Boss. I told him, job security for us pit crew members is terrible. At the same time, we're the show of the party. These races are so long. You see the first 20 laps, you see the last 20 laps, but these races are so long, people go get something to drink. But when it's time for pit stops, the show is on. That's when we separate ourselves from other people. I can safely say to both of you brothers right now, in my heyday, there was not a tire carrier who could do what I do at the level that I was doing it. And I'm very proud to say that because if I was playing football, I probably couldn't say that. They had Ray Lewis. They had Jesse Tuggle. They had those guys that I looked up to who are just beasts. And I knew that I could. I mean, you hope to strive to them. But in NASCAR, I can say, and everybody can look at me up and down pit road, I am Jesse Tuggle. I am Ray Lewis when it comes to this tire carrying. Because this is something that we're not in.
We're going to hold it right there. We're going to hold it right there. We're going to hold it right there. And we listen. We're going to go to a commercial break. But when we come back, check it out, Howard. Check it out. We're going to ask them about them removing the Confederate flags off the cars and what that means. And
we got a lot. We
got a lot of stuff to talk about, man.
All right. Well, I got a lot to talk.
I want to know this real.
Wait a minute, hold on, man. No, wait, hold on now. Wait a minute, man. Chill for a second, man. See, that's what I'm saying, man. You got to get your calm down medicine. You got to get your calm down.
We got 30 seconds. Jeremy said we got 30 seconds.
Jeremy said 30.
Before you started, were you a racing fan?
No, never knew NASCAR existed. I lived 25 minutes from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I never knew that track existed. Never paid it no mind. We had no drivers that I was interested in. I didn't know pit crew was an occupation. I didn't know anything about NASCAR except for Jeff Gordon and Dan Earnhardt Jr. and my M&M's racing jacket that I bought, that somebody bought for me for Christmas, and I matched it with my Jordans. I would buy those racing jackets all the time.
Well, listen. Now I know it's time to go to break. See, listen, man, we got to pay some bills. Listen.
Let's pay the bills.
Man, I'm telling you, bro, AARP, man.
I ain't going nowhere.
To break. We'll be back for more R&R on Sports right after this.
Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, and today it is such a pleasure to have my dear friend, a longtime friend, Beverly Robertson, who is President and CEO of the Greater Memphis Chamber. How are you this afternoon, Beverly?
Mark, I am fine. We are busy as bees, but hey, I'm just glad to be here to be able to contribute.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
See, we getting all fancy and stuff, man. See, man, we trying to get all fancy and stuff. We
You
gonna
can't
take
have
this
my
over.
wife on there without my permission.
Hey, man. Hey,
That was
we
your
own
wife?
that content. Kadzukian owns that content. So don't be
Good
trying
job.
to, So anyway.
All right, so back for more R&R on sports. So and we are talking to Rocko Williams.
Hey, man, that's you see, Rocko could be like, hey, Rocko, this dude is named Dion first. He's Dion Rocko Williams. All right, so now you have no mistaking as to who he is.
When I'm in the office, it's Dion. When I'm out on pit road, it's Rocko.
So
You know,
this is very, very interesting, man. So talk about the culture. Talk about the culture. Because you weren't a fan, you lived 20 minutes away from the Atlanta Speedway and whatnot. Most real talk, most black folk are not fans of NASCAR. Not that they hate it, not that they don't like it, but they just aren't. So talk about the culture and being in the thick of it like you are as a black man.
the culture now is it's evolved multiple times over 16 years I've been in this sport. So I went to different evolutions. My first 4 or 5 years was a learning curve for me. Coming from stick and ball, I headbutted with a lot of people. I was very confident. There was a lot of guys that I was around that was never been around another black man their entire life, and they're 40 years old. There's been guys who've never left the country besides for racing or traveling the States who are over 40 years old, you know? So I had to make an adjustment just like they had to make an adjustment for me. And what I call that is code switching. I was the king of code switching. I learned that at Wake Forest. I had to code switch at Wake Forest. I feel like I got to code switch everywhere I go. NASCAR was nothing new, especially since I was the minority there at the time, to the point those first 5, 6 years, you felt solo by yourself.
Okay, wait a minute, Rocko. Tell us what you mean by code switching for those
playing
that might
the
be
game. You have to code switch. You can be yourself, but you got to know when and where to be yourself, all right? Because not everybody can handle you in your truest form. So you got to take a little bit off of that, and you got to make them feel comfortable in their element, because at the end of the day, I'm infiltrating a sport that I know nothing about. Okay. Wow. I'm trying to learn a sport as somebody who knows nothing, but I'm given the key to the city just because of my athletic ability. And the fact that I'm black, it was even more unheard of, because you're not used to seeing a black man do pit crew. You're not. But then when I do it in my J's that is coordinated with my fire suit, with my matching headbands, with my matching Tom Fords on, matching my helmet, matching the paint scheme of the car, and Jeff Gordon knows who I am, and I never
gonna put you out. You can't do all that.
And I never make a mistake.
He came with that drip, Howard. He came with that drip.
Dude,
he came with that drip.
You have no idea. They didn't wear headphones on the track. They didn't like to coordinate this. They like to look like mechanics. If I got dirty at the track, I'm changing my clothes. We got sponsors there. You know, I'm representing not just me. I'm representing Fortune 500 companies. I'm representing the team that I'm racing for that hired me. And I'm representing for every pit crew member who sees me on TV. It's like, oh, is that a black dude? What is he doing out there? And not only am I out there, I'm out there winning races for Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Hendrick Motorsports.
Beautiful.
See what I'm saying? So when I go to the club back in Atlanta at 24, 25, 26 years old, and everybody's in their Gucci, and I'm in my crew shirt, my sponsored billboard shirt that nobody's ever seen. You see what I'm saying? That's like, hey, what are you doing? The road less traveled by, the code switching. Why am I going here when all my boys are over here already? You see what I'm saying? Because right now I can get treated like a professional athlete in a sport where we don't even know about, and we have no interest in being involved in until now. You ask where it has changed and where the culture is now. When I'm on pit road, I'm surrounded by 50 plus of my recruits, of my brethren, of blacks on pit road. Okay, we have one driver in Bubba, but we have over 50 on pit road. And that has come primarily from me and Coach Horton. Okay, so that's where the culture has changed. We're family out there now. Okay,
Wow.
we had to watch the Confederate. My first 5 years in the sport, 6 years, I got pissed off every time I saw that damn flag. Every single time. But guess what? What am I going to do? Be angry black man and say, hey, take that stuff down. And next thing you know, I'm getting in a fight or something. I'm not racing. No, I'm a killer with my performance, my athletic ability, hate that flag, but go to the race, win the race, have that fire suit, and have all of them wishing who had that flag, man, he's got the coolest job ever. How did he get in there? That black man.
Right.
That was more satisfying to me than making us think about the flag at that time. Yes, it pissed me off.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute now. Listen, this is Iron Iron Sports, and we are speaking with Dion Rocko Williams. Man, Mr. NASCAR. Mr. Brother, he's Dark Gable of NASCAR. So listen, man, when you're out there and you go to the club, how do you tell a young lady that this is what your profession is, and she not be like, what?
Well, back in the day, stuff has changed now, but back in the day, I just say, get with me and read about me. But, you know, they could just watch.
You said Google me. You didn't say Google
Just
me.
get with me and read about me, man. You're not going to see me in NFL or NBA, but, you know, when you say NASCAR, you know, it already piques that interest, especially to anybody black who don't know. You know how we are with anything we don't know. We are interested in that. So it is one of those things where you didn't have to try too hard because the curiosity was there. You know, now when they got to the track, when you get to the track, that's when they got hooked. And that's when they started understanding, your friends understanding that you were doing something really special. You were doing something different that is in a lane of its own. And I call NASCAR America's best kept secret for that. You know, 16 years, I made this a career. At the same time, we're starting careers with other individuals just like myself, to the point where we're at 100% placement rate. Everybody that comes to us that we've developed is working right now. We have COVID, losing jobs, you know, taking jobs away. Our crew members are balling out, working in NASCAR, in a sport, and it is very historic and very exciting to see what Bubba's doing, what Steve Phelps is doing, and all the progress that we're making. The next thing we got to do is start getting you, me, and all these other black folks to the track and keep this movement going. Okay, because it will die out just as fast as it started. We need to get to the track. We need to get to the track, see for yourself. There's no flags there to piss you off anymore. We need to get to the track.
All right.
Talk about the now, I hope you guys know that this culture is not just going to evaporate. I hope you know that it's going to be pushed back, and these things die hard. So has there been any, well, they just did the thing with the flag, but what kind of pushback have you gotten to this point or received to this point?
Internally, there's no pushback within the sport for the fact that we all want this. Not internally. It's more of the closed-mindedness with the fans. The fans that are treating this like an airport and announcing their departure from the sport now that the flag is there. We don't care about your departure. Go. We don't need you anywhere. NASCAR is trying to cater to a new fan. They're trying to make new fans feel welcome. New fans, and particularly blacks, us, because it is a cool sport. You see what I'm saying? That's what's going on. So
now, what about the driver that says he's going to retire?
Ray Sorelli. Let me tell you about Ray Sorelli. Hi, Ray.
Okay.
Have a good time, Ray. You know what Ray should have done? What he should have done is took that spin on the flag leaving and maybe embraced the two black pit crew members that are on his team personally right now, helping him win a race. And now those two kids had to talk to me. Hey, why is our driver leaving the sport? This is a guy that we go to battle with. This is a guy that we go to war with every single week, trying to help him win the race. Right. And he's leaving us hanging high and dry because the sport is trying to make us feel comfortable. I think he needs to take a look at himself. And he might have been trying to make a point for whatever reason it was, but it's misplaced. It's very misplaced. This isn't about how your view on this flag or what it means to you. This is a take on how it makes other people uncomfortable. And this is what I say about common sense. If I'm rocking something on my shirt or my hat and I'm around somewhere where there's a lot of people and somebody might see that as conflicting with them, and I might put myself in a situation where I have to confront somebody, why wear that? Why do it? It's pointless. You see what I'm saying? So Ray can kick rocks for all I care. Like I said, when I said that common sense thing, that's where I'm going with that, because at the end of the day, he could have made a bigger impact embracing the athletes that were on his crew and made a bigger stance as opposed to just saying I'm out.
So you don't expect any more?
Excuse me?
You don't expect any more drivers to push back?
I didn't know who Ray Cicerelli was until I knew my pit crew was going to be on his pit crew, on his team. So then we had to learn who he was so we could facilitate the best pit stops that we can, because I told my pit crews and our athletes, make sure you know your drivers, make sure you learn them so we can compete with some passion, at the same time. So Ray was not a big name before. He was a big name to the locals, whatever, but that means nothing to me with him being gone. And I doubt that any other big drivers would follow his suit. When you have drivers like Jimmy Johnson and Chase Elliott renouncing relationships with certain sponsorships based off of comments that they have made, here you have a driver going the total opposite and leaving the sport. You see? So I don't agree with him whatsoever, and I have no feelings whatsoever to him leaving.
Well,
Only on the fact that
this is R&R Sports, and I tell you, we keep it real and we keep it show enough funky over here. So listen, one quick question. Where do you see the sport going? Where do you see the sport going? Look in your crystal ball.
Well, I see the sport. Where do I see the sport? Ever since Steve Phelps has come on as the president of sport, Steve Phelps was in the NFL prior. You see what I'm saying? He's been around blacks.
Right.
He knows that. That's why all these changes are happening now. You see what I'm saying? When COVID releases, where I see the sports going, I see my friends, my uncle, now that Bubba knows who he is now and he's fighting for the movement, I see us keeping this movement going by supporting the racetrack. We can't just get all excited, talk about it for a few weeks, and then it fizzles out. Where I see us going is we keep dialogue like this going. We keep supporting Bubba, pushing him. We keep supporting Steve Phelps. And now that NASCAR has opened it up for us, there shouldn't be that's just a redneck sport. Let's not watch that. No, they said we don't want those flags here. It's open to everybody. Where I see the sport going, it's going to open up, and we're going to do like we do everything. Take over. Just like we did with the pit crew. So as we work on these drivers, young drivers, we're going to get about 6 or 7 Bubba Wallaces up here soon. And one of them is going to be my daughter and one of them my sons. So it doesn't matter, because instead of putting a basketball and a football in my son's hand at 5 or 6, my son ain't never played football yet because he's on iRacing driving simulators. My daughter are driving simulators right now. This is America's best kept secret. You have to start early with this racing stuff. You have to start early. You see what I'm saying? My fiance started racing when she was 6. She's an engine builder, world renowned. She's the first African-American NHRA drag racer, first African-American black female in NASCAR in the lower series. So this is the type of family we have. It starts with the kids now. You don't have to play basketball. You don't have to play football. Why don't you drive a race car? Because you can do it, and you probably will be better than you thought, even if you don't have but one person to look at and support during a race.
Fantastic, man.
One driver. Because you got one driver, but remember, you got over 50 pit crew athletes out there, just like me out there every single week. So this is our sport, just like it's theirs.
All right.
You heard it here.
Dion.
R&R on Sports from Rocko.
Rock to the O.
We appreciate you being with us here on R&R on Sports. And I always say this is like being in the Costa Nostra, baby. When we call you, you got to show up.
Hey, man, it sounds like we need to get the Mrs. on too. We need to get the Mrs. on.
Man, hey, I'm telling you what, she's the boss. You know.
Okay. All right.
She does it well, and her name and her resume goes well along. We're a power couple, but we play off each other very, very well. But she is the boss.
He owes you that, especially asking you that dumb question about what you say to chicks in the club.
Hey, we were all young once. You know, I'm grown now.
What
I'm
you talking
grown
about?
now.
He
You know,
he can't remember, man. He can't remember.
No, I
He can't
can't.
remember
I
no
can't.
more,
You're right.
man.
You're
No
right.
hold against
You're
him,
right.
Rocko. He won't even remember your name tomorrow. He be like, what?
No. I know Rocko forever. Y'all stay with us here on R&R on Sports. We will be back for more after this.